And welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, August 8th, 2020. How's everybody doing? And welcome to another Biddle on Saturday, August 8th, 2020. How's everybody doing? And welcome to another Biddle.
Hello.
Turn the sign on.
August 8th,
There we
2020.
Okay, now
How's
we're
everybody
open.
doing?
Now it's official.
Okay, I was scared for a second there.
Welcome to another Biddle.
Yeah, everyone's been having issues with Zoom today.
Wow.
We are live.
Okay.
We are live.
So,
Probably Zoom.
yeah, that was like 4 intros right in a row. That was weird. Okay. We're officially open for business, just so you know.
Yeah.
And we just a few hours ago had Biddle Europe, which was a fantastic discussion. And we're probably going to get into the results of who lost their Linux card. May even gather some more information from people who weren't there at the time. Talking to you, Joe, about why you would lose your Linux card. But we will get into that. We got a few things we want to cover beforehand. I do want to make a apology for the YouTube video somehow. The YouTube or the browser in OBS is catching the YouTube chat, which it normally does. It normally catches it in the dark theme. Right now, it's only catching it in the white theme. So it's probably a little bright. Looks kind of off, but that's just the way it is, and I can't do nothing about it. So
Put on some sunglasses.
yep, gonna have to live with it. All right, so few weeks, what is it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we talked about Musical Coder's new PC build, and we went through the whole parts list of his build and what he was going to buy. You know, we gave our opinions and our recommendations of what we would have bought or what we would add or take away from that. And he did end up buying the computer. He did make a few changes, 1 or 2, and I wanted to talk about that and let you guys know the update on what he ended up getting. So I'm going to put the link in the YouTube chat, and you can follow along with us and check it out. So he went with the AMD Ryzen 9 3950X processor. That didn't change. That's what he was going to get anyway. He went with the same Noctua CPU cooler. Went with the same Gigabyte X570 motherboard. Where he changed things up a little bit, he ended up going with Corsair Vengeance RGB memory, but he went with 128 gigabytes of memory for this computer. I don't know. He said he wanted to future-proof this. Dan, is that future-proofing?
Oh, that's pretty future-proof.
Multitasking like a boss.
Which yeah, it sure is.
Which RAM did he go with?
The Corsair Vengeance.
Yeah.
But which speed?
Which
because
speed?
Yeah, I see.
DDR4 3600. It looks like.
Oh,
that's what he did end up going with. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to test how many Chrome tabs he can open at the same time.
Yeah.
So
and also how many Zoom calls he can join.
He got 4 32 gigabyte DIMMs, and I don't know if he'll ever run out of memory ever.
That RAM will go up in value instead of down.
Never say never, because people used to say that when
this
when
is
it
true,
was like,
Barb.
oh, I got 256K of memory, and they said, oh, don't we need
That's
anymore.
all I'll ever need, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, if it's Corsair, it's good enough.
You can
Good
never
stuff.
have enough of it. That's in reality, that's the truth.
So he also changed up the hard drive, and I forget which hard drive it was, the brand that he was going with, but he's now went with a Corsair MP600 1 terabyte NVMe solid state drive. So that is definitely an upgrade in the company name, in the brand, and in the speed of the hard drive. He also went with the Sapphire Radeon RX 5700 XT. Dan, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, he actually had the XFX card that you'll see right over there.
Yeah.
That I bought this week on the original one, and now he's gone with the Sapphire one that Leo has, I believe. And they're both good cards. They're both really great.
Well, you know what? I never had an experience with an XFX card until that one in the test machine wasn't working properly, and I sent it back to them. And they tested it and ended up sending me a new one. Even though they couldn't find nothing wrong with the card that I sent back, they still sent me a brand new one out. I thought that was fabulous. So
It is.
props
That's
to
really
them
cool.
for that.
Yeah.
Because it's not always that way when you deal with hardware companies.
No, it is not.
No.
No.
Schickel?
Well, if there's anyone that would know about dealing with hardware companies, it's you, Rocco. That's always been a good trip. I was
I've
going to
had
say, I
my-
also have the XFX 5700 XG, and it's been fantastic. So,
Well,
good choice.
we were actually talking about it before the show, and I was talking to Dan and Joe about it. And I don't know what your guys' opinion, Schickel. I don't know what your opinion is as far as a comparison. But what does it compare to on the NVIDIA side? Like
the card or the brand?
the card, the card itself, not the brand, like not XFX, but the card itself. Like, it's not going to get the frame rates that my 2080 is going to get.
Yeah. It does depend on the use case. In some things, it pulls ahead of like a 2080, but in a lot of things, it falls behind. So it really does depend. Like, it's really good for like modeling applications, assuming that you're not going to be, having to translate CUDA to OpenCL and all of that garbage. But it's really good for that. It's a little worse in gaming, so I'd probably put it up against maybe a 2070 in that regard. So
Yeah, I was thinking 2060 Super in gaming, probably.
yeah, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
Which is still really good.
it's great.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Especially for the price.
yeah,
Joe, you
Yeah.
mentioned the price difference
Right.
between the 2080 and the.
it's
not
insane.
even. It's not
NVIDIA,
existent.
yeah, AMD
I
doesn't make
looked at a 2080 and my wallet cried. I was like, all right, never mind.
Yeah,
That says something.
mine left. My wallet just left. It's like, nope.
Tyler.
I just wanted to comment. I was reminded of the one experience I had with XFX like 10 years ago. I had an 8800 GT with a lifetime warranty that died on me. And it was right when they were transitioning. So I RMA'd an NVIDIA card and they sent me back an ATI card.
Wow.
That's because they basically terminated their relationship with NVIDIA at that time and went to ATI or AMD exclusive.
Right. Well, like I said, I haven't had any other dealings with them, but the one that I did have was pretty good. So that's really all you can go on is, firsthand experience.
Yep.
And then rounding out his thing, he kept the Cooler Master mid-tower case and the Corsair 850 gold certified. I thought he was going with the platinum.
I think he did have a platinum one on there, but
Yeah, he wanted to
tell you
save
what.
$150. That's why.
Yeah, he went with the gold.
I have the Corsair gold, and it's a great power supply. I have no issues with it.
So he did end up pulling the trigger and buying that. Now the PC part picker says it's $2,400, a little bit over $2,400. But he said earlier in the Europe edition was like $2,800 at the end of it, I guess with tax and,
Tax
and everything
shipping.
else. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taxes and shipping, because
So-
that's a lot of weight to ship
Yeah.
there.
It's.
Yeah.
I
it's
don't
one of
want to
the-
be
yeah.
like too savage, but I mean, it's still way cheaper than like a Thelio for,
Oh
similar specs. So like it's cost effective, I think, even though it's
Oh, yeah.
expensive.
Yeah. I've not seen many builds where you spend as much on RAM as everything else.
Like,
yeah, that's
he,
a lot.
He paid almost as much RAM for the RAM as he did for the Ryzen
Well, that's
9
because you don't
3950
see
X.
that many people actually buy that much RAM.
No, but not at once, not in one
Yeah.
go. Usually it's like, I got 32. Then I went 64. Then I got, no, nobody goes beyond 64 unless you're just
I mean, unless you're doing something
right.
graphically intense, like animation or something like that,
Yep.
or you don't
Well,
really need that much.
His
RAM.
idea was that, and I don't blame him, because it can get very frustrating when you buy a PC or build parts for a PC and they're out of date. Like the next generation is already here, and so he wanted to future-proof his computer at least for a while, and I think he did that. I think he hit his goal.
Yeah.
I
Well,
will
that's the
say on
issue
the
with
RAM,
technology is that it does, they do change so rapidly that you buy one component one day and then 2 days later the next version of it's come out
Yeah.
and you're already obsolete.
he did good on the
Somebody
RAM
should
as far
graph
as
out.
price wise though. I mean, RAM, like
Oh yeah.
we're in a good, if you're going to buy RAM now, like do it. Like, I mean, the last year's been pretty good on RAM. Before, remember 2 years ago, trying to buy a 32 gig stick? Ooh,
Yep.
yeah.
Some places in the world, DDR3 RAM now costs more than DDR4.
Our place in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
But we're
expensive.
still
Other
recommending
places.
I mean, it is
still
it is-
recommending 4 gig of swap, right?
Yeah, 128 gigabytes of RAM, 4 gigabytes of swap.
Well, Tech Yes City, he's complaining that he cannot find, DDR3 RAM at a reasonable price anymore. It's as much as DDR4.
I could just throw some at him. I've got tons of that
right.
stuff.
What?
Really?
Like, does he need laptop or
Send
does
it
he
to
need
Australia.
desktop?
Oh, never mind. I don't like to go that far. That's
Well, does anybody remember last week? Because obviously there's no monitor on here. DJ Ware in the chat asked what he's using for a monitor. I don't remember if he said.
That's a good point.
I don't think he did.
He's got like a 32-inch CRT just up on the wall. He's gonna.
No, it's gonna be like a 17-inch, like 4 by 3.
Nate's the one
4 by
who
3.
uses
Yeah.
the CRTs.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's got
He's got
5700,
insane
so
frame rates
hopefully
on
he's
that.
Going, hopefully he's going for at least 144 hertz or something at least.
Yeah. I don't know what he has.
16
for
I don't
colors.
think he said at all. There was. I don't remember that. I don't remember that part of the
I
conversation.
don't remember that either. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that was specified.
He's hiding in shame.
Well, he is
no.
busy
No, he's
DJing.
working.
Yeah, he's
Working.
busy DJing right now, so he's not going to be able
Yep.
to tell us. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool, the update and the fact that he did make a couple of them changes that we had recommended. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think he got a good deal.
That's a
It's
nice
awesome.
machine. Really nice
Yeah.
machine.
I'd like to
Somebody
find
should
out how that
graph out what the
3950 is.
average. Somebody should graph out what the average amount of recommended RAM was over the years, so we can see when his amount of RAM is going to become too little. It's going to be like 4 years or something ridiculously small.
Yeah, if that, like, that's a lot of RAM.
Yep.
There's a lot of RAM.
A lot of RAM.
You don't need more than 640K.
Well,
Right. That's all you'll ever need, right, Tyler?
Yep.
Is he
That's
running XFCE? That's just what I want to know. Is he running
no, I thought he said he was running
He's
plasma.
not.
LXQT?
Right.
What is it?
Hey.
I thought he was running plasma, but
You really
I
only
mean,
need that
I
much
don't even
RAM
know
for
why
Chrome.
you need a DE if
Chrome,
you have
yeah.
that little. If you have that little RAM, you shouldn't be running a DE. That's
Well,
too much.
I don't think his idea was to, like I said, it wasn't to. He didn't need any of this. It was more future proofing.
Right.
So
But
Every
wasn't it
night he-
also this was a gaming machine.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It
that's what I
will.
thought.
It'll game. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I thought.
So the question actually, did we look at the motherboard? Oh, it is the 570, right? So it's
570.
got
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
PCIe, whatever that is, the faster.
Yep.
It's a 4. Yeah. I think he got all the RAM though. What he's going to be working on is he's going to launch every application he possibly can and then put it to sleep.
You know what?
Wants
he
to see
should do?
how much he can put in RAM.
Just open up Bash Top and just kind of get that going. That'd be
Right.
really nice.
You mean Flex?
Yeah, flex.
Oh yeah, Bash Top would just be a flex, but
So
isn't
good.
the rule you're supposed to have like 2 times your RAM in swap? That was the old rule. If he did that, that would be like that would be a hard drive on its own.
Yeah.
Half of his 1 terabyte's going to go to swap.
He'd need it in like a RAID 0 as well because it's
Right.
just not fast enough to wake up all that stuff.
Nope.
Jeez.
That would be
From what
beautiful.
I understand with RAM, from what I always hear, it doesn't matter how much memory you've got, you always need RAM because you could have a rogue application that could that goes outside of that and needs something.
you mean swap?
Cough, OBS,
Not
cough.
swap, at least.
Well, I had that experience with my my hard drive the other. I say hard drive, it's a SSD, but same thing except not. Where my kernel logger and my like system
Oh, yeah.
logs were just like massive. I ended up with like a 50+ gigabyte log file.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I just noticed it because I was in the folder. I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. And then it was just like watching Inception and the whole city's collapsing on you. So I think I did the non-recommended thing and just uninstalled the log services. So if something breaks, I'm on my own. But I mean, storage space and RAM space is just things that are like always growing in demand. Like you'll always find a way to fill it. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be toying around with ways to do ridiculous things pretty soon.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
he could,
didn't we have a discussion once on here about I think it was with Ubuntu and Popey was on, and somebody said, "Oh, you don't need swap," and he said you do need to have it for.
Yeah.
However, for it to run better, is you need at least 2 gig of swap, and that's why it automatically gives you that 2 gig of swap, no matter how much.
It does do something.
Yeah,
you should.
And
you should have some
because
swap.
somebody had said it, and they said, "Oh, it's just for you only need it for laptops," and he said, "No, you needed it." I remember
you
that
should.
discussion.
Yeah, that was Popey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I remember that discussion.
You don't necessarily need a separate swap partition. You can get away with a
No.
swap file, but you
Yeah.
should have some.
Something.
That was his point. Yeah.
That's that's a beastly machine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the flex is definitely for him to show up with like 6 VMs running 2 to 3 cores a piece and 30 gigs of RAM on each one, and just have them all laid out.
Hey Joe, DJ says one thing for sure: Linux won't be running much on that system.
Yeah, never gonna get there.
Nope.
Zero use for it.
No Yes.
So yeah, I have 64 gigs of RAM in my system, and I actually just kind of kept opening tabs in Firefox and try to keep going to test the early in Fedora 32.
Yep.
Early boom.
Well, Dan, 2004.1 is out. Is there anything notable? Anything we need to?
Well, if you've been running 2004 and you've been updating, then you'll have 2004.1 automatically. It'll just happen, which is really great. So 2004.1, the ISO spins are all of those updates that, everybody's been getting all along, all wrapped into the new ISO so that when you go to install it, you don't have to pull down all those downloads.
Right. And that will also give that's the one that gives the 1804 one the little notice, right?
Yep. You will also get a notice on if you're running 1804 that you can update if you want. And yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad about it because he's still on 1804 Ubuntu Mate. So told
the other
him
thing
to
is
watch out for that.
You can stay on 1804. There's still support, and there will be another spin, a dot release for that is coming up week.
18.4.5 released on Thursday.
Yep, comes out on Thursday.
So what is that exactly in that? Just security
Same
fixes?
thing. Hardware enablement stuff gets backported a little bit, and updates and stuff, so you don't have to install. Well, think about it. There are a lot of updates from the time 1804 gets released until now. So all of those will be all wrapped up. So if you do a fresh install, they'll be there.
Right.
Because nobody wants to just install an ancient version of Ubuntu because they want it to be stable and then need to wait an extra hour just to upgrade and upgrade. They can just get straight with the main base and just move on.
Yep.
All right. And Nate, sir, how are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
I am great. Hey, look, I wanted to plug your website, your podcast that you do, your little thingy, Nate's
Sure.
Noodlings.
It's little. Yeah, it's just kind of it's an audio version of my nonsense, the podcast.
Okay, so let's talk about this past show that you did.
I barely remember it. I just released it yesterday.
It says Noodlings, hardware is for the terminal. That's the
right.
title of it.
Yeah, that's because so I came upon this. I go through these times when I go into the terminal and do things, and I found some neat applications. So I'm about a month or 3 behind everybody else, and so I just discovered BashTop. I don't know where I've been, but I'm a little bit upset that I'm so far behind the curve on that.
You should probably listen to the Linux user space. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you should.
There's this little podcast, talk about things
that was actually the time after. That's actually when I tried it this past week.
He just listened to episode 1 last week. You caught that, right?
Yes, I got 2. I listened to 2 first, and then 1.
Great,
because I'm all kinds of mixed up.
Well, the funny part about that was we recorded that episode,
Computer Kid, yeah,
about BashTop, and everybody then talked about BashTop the following week, but we didn't release until the week after that. So it was like we
right.
were actually late, but we were.
You know what? We had the exclusive on the Snap, though. I'm calling it.
Right?
We did. Yep.
I just use the open build service, so
You're not helping me, Nate.
the Snap is really great.
Thanks. There you go.
Yep. And so I don't know who did it, but they did a fabulous job. And
it was actually Jimmy, who's been here. He's been here on Biddle before.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Tiger.
Oh, yes, I know him. He's a food geek.
Runs Solus too.
Mm-hmm.
Does he? I thought he was an Ubuntu guy.
He's got some of that too.
He's a Solus guy at heart.
Yep.
But yeah, so I got inspired by some other things on the internet, and I decided I would create a desktop for me to attach to using tmux on my workstation, so I could have all the things going I want going basically, and then I could just attach to the tmux session. It's all laid out. It's actually like a window manager except good. And
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah, because it's useful.
That's that could be against.
You realize that
could be against
KDE has a
your
window manager.
Yeah,
KWin is a window manager.
You're revoking the Linux card thing, dude.
The tiling window manager, I should say. I'm sorry. Anyway, so I run it. I have like a different windows or virtual workspaces set up. I don't know how you want to call it. We call them windows, but I call them workspaces. And anyway, so it's nice to have a clock there. I have Bashtop going. I have like other like little fun things going. And then I started experimenting with other just applications I can run on the terminal. It's like WeChat. Have you used that? It's an IRC client. Yep. I know you don't IRC, but I do know that Dan Simmons does because he's awesome. And
I do
anyway,
IRC
so
sometimes.
Do you?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Are you old enough to IRC? Is that allowed?
I have talked to you before on IRC.
It's totally allowed.
Pew. Shots fired.
Well, let's keep Peter. He can handle it. He's old enough. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I talked about. My little hardware upgrade that I did in there as well, and so that's kind of how I tied it in. I like to string together words that don't make sense. Oh, somebody sent me an IRC message. Who did that?
That was me.
I could hear it. I have a notification for that. The Star Trek-y thing. But yeah, and so I just kind of string some nonsense together. So hardware's for the terminal, and yeah.
Yep. Well, I put a link in the YouTube chat for it, so I think people should go check it out.
Yeah, it's all right. It's short. My noodlings are really short. They're like 20 minutes or less.
That's okay.
That's the target. Just kind of whatever's in my head.
Would anyone be interested in a KDE Plasma widget that is actually just Bashtop?
Really?
I can make that happen. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, can you make it
even
like
if
right
I
now
don't
on the
run?
show, or like
I don't run KDE, but I would be interested in that.
It won't be too hard. I mean, there's already a terminal widget, and I would just basically need to take that, make it always bake in Bashtop, and just boom, there you go.
Anyone want a Cinnamon one in that case? A Cinnamon desklet for it or something?
So how are you doing that, Shickle? Are you actually creating a plasmoid or something?
I'm just going to fork the terminal plasmoid and then just have it always call Bashtop. So as soon as it exists, it's just running Bashtop.
All right. So
well, that's kind of cool.
We are going to move on to the major topic of the evening, because this was the major topic in Biddle Europe. And I'm not going to rehash. We're not going to go over each of our own confessions from Biddle Europe that already went, but I do want to get the guys that didn't go already. So if you're not up to speed yet, we talked about a tweet by EG, who you should follow him on Twitter and YouTube. Awesome dude. Talks about Linux all the time. And he said, he posted a thread that said, confessions that can get your Linux card revoked. And then he started it out. And of course, then I started, and Alan Pope, and well, actually Alan was before me, but there was quite a few people before me. But then I gave mine, and I thought it would be a great topic of discussion. So we talked about it on Biddle Europe, and some of the people like Big Pot and Shickle, they decided to go all out and just completely get their Linux card revoked. Other people were very reserved. And there's a poll right now in the Biddle Telegram group. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. And it looks like, so this went up and down, up and down, up and down. But I think Shickle is winning the race here at 66% of the vote to get their Linux card revoked.
Who did I hurt?
Yet he's going to make a plasmoid with bash top. How is
Right?
the
Right.
I
terrible
am
guy.
following a
card back.
close second at 39%, I believe. I think I'm in the second on the list here. So I'm not far behind you, dude. Just saying.
Well, but there's 2 of me, so
Yeah, can we add those together?
Well,
How does that work?
You're right, Big Pod. You're right. So that means
So-
that Big Pod actually got 21% and 30%. So that means he got 51%.
Shickle, can
The
you make a
problem is
plasmoid that migrates those two numbers together for us
Well,
and averages out?
Yeah, we'd have to average that.
The
Big
problem
Pod.
is that I tried to make this real fast as a joke. The problem was it was meant to be a joke, and I was like trying to bang it out real fast, and it got done, and there were multiple errors in it. Like for instance, 2 big pods, and also they limit you to only 10 items in a poll. So that's why there's 2 polls. It's because we had 18 people, or something like that. And so now, for some reason, they don't let you go back and edit it. So we're stuck with 2 big pods. I am sorry. It was just a joke.
It's okay. It's quite all
It's all
right.
good.
You
So-
did one thing right though. You made 2 big pods, but one had a big B and the other one had a small b, so you could like do a half a vote.
So if you took the top 3, me, Big Pod, and Shickle would definitely get our cards revoked. I think Adam should be higher in the list. I'm just saying, because he's
I
the one that
agree.
stirred the pot and left, but
well?
He
may
dropped
not
the mic
actually-
and ran, didn't he?
he did.
He may not actually qualify for a Linux card. That's probably
there's a
why.
case to be made for that.
You can't get it
Mhm.
revoked if you never had one in the first place.
That's right.
Right?
yeah.
And I say that with all the love and kindness that I can possibly project on a Zoom chat.
All
And
right.
the application's got to
He
pass.
said it with his eyes.
So let's get some more confessions going from people who did not go in the previous episode. Joe, we're going to just throw you under the bus first.
I'm comfortable there.
What would you confess to us today that would get your Linux card revoked?
I don't know. So I went back to my tweet on the, or my response on the tweet. I use all the OSs, use the right tool for the right job. So I like and love Linux, but I think Windows should exist, and I think macOS should exist, and I think they're all great for their own purpose. Not exactly the most popular thought in the circles I find myself in, but proprietary software is fine. Use what works. I don't want to use some broken open source junk that doesn't work. I'll use some great open source software that works wonderfully, but I want to use some junk. So, you know, I that doesn't bother me. I use proprietary software all the time. I need to get work done. I prefer a GUI to terminal 100,000,000% of the time, all the time, every time. I'd rather know where to go for a setting than have to remember billions of commands. Like I have them, some of them, but GUI's easy for me. I don't know. Unity was great.
I love Unity.
Yeah,
So-
Unity was
respect
great.
that.
I don't care what anybody says. That's, you know.
That's not a card revocation statement. You can't
Okay.
lose a
Well,
card for that.
It is
went
in
away
some circles, though.
because
Now, the
it
first
was
two
so
things you said,
bad.
those
Some.
definitely are.
Everybody said it was so bad and they hated it. But a typical Linux community, right? Like, oh, we're Unity. Oh, we hate Unity. Take away Unity, go to GNOME. Oh, where's Unity? We hate GNOME. Like, okay, fine. All
That's
right, pick
exactly
one.
what happened.
That's literally what happened in others of Ubuntu Unity. And like, oh no, now there's
Step by step, that's-
controlling the project.
That's what happened. Microsoft makes a great desktop OS.
Wow.
They do.
Uh,
They do.
Ouch.
passable.
Okay,
Um,
be quiet. They actually do make a great desktop in reality. It's just if it was faster and if it was actually stable, then I would actually maybe consider using it a little bit more.
Right.
But for now, it's Garbo.
It's great for normal users.
I thank you, Big Pod. Yes, I can't. We can't approach everything from techies. Like here's one that should take my Linux card. 2 weeks ago, my dad's like, "Hey, I want to put Linux on my computer." I'm like, "Nope, keeping you on Windows."
All right.
No, you
there go.
didn't.
I did. I actually denied him, and there's reasons why. I
could've
told
given
him we
him
have to
vent.
work through those reasons why. But I said, for now, you just can't use it. Like his life is Internet Explorer, and he's got like these old car builder programs that are on old floppies that only run in like compatibility mode on Windows. And he's going to call me the second those don't work and go, hey, I can't use them. I'm like, I know you can't use them. So those kind of things. And then my last one was true privacy is a myth. So
that's also true.
You know, I think we talk about privacy a lot, but I just feel like it's somewhere more like, you know, don't be stupid. And then there's like tinfoil hat. And I think life is somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I just don't think it's everything. Oh, and the first app I install on every Linux distro is Google Chrome.
Wow. I think, Dan, he is like really raising the bar up in the
I think
poll.
we have a new champion.
Yeah.
He's close, Harris. He's close.
We're going to make a new poll, and it's only going to have Joe on it.
It's just going to have my name. It's going to have Joe and Blame Joe, and then Under the Bus Joe. So it'll just be those ones.
And goodbye, Linux Joe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if those qualify me. I don't know if I had a card. I think I missed the sign up. I may have swapped it in. I got it punched 10 times at Tasty Freeze. I might have got a free cone with the card. I'm not sure how the card works, or if it's a discount thing, or if it's a big box. You know, can I get into Costco with it? But if I lose it, you know, I'd be sad, I think. But anyway,
we'll have to decide later.
Yeah.
Keep you in suspense.
So I can I ask a couple of questions on that?
Yeah,
please.
Okay. Number one, why are you in a Linux podcast? Number two, now I understand why Let's Blame Joe. I totally get it.
There you go.
So I choose to make my home on Linux, and I use it for many things, and I love it. But just because I love it doesn't mean I hate the other stuff. And that's, I think, what happens a lot of times is we say, oh, I love Linux. That means I have to not like Windows, and I have to not like Mac OS. And I think they're all pretty good. I just choose to spend my time on Linux because it fascinates me more. It just, to me, I think you can have both. I don't think the other guys have to be bad for this one to be good. That's all.
I really appreciate Joe's take on a lot of things, because it's like he'll light these fires like all around us and then like be vacuuming up the fires after he says some of like the crazy things.
Yeah.
It's real
But
good.
no, but they're not really that crazy. That's
No,
the thing.
they're headline
really
grabbers,
rational.
but they have rationality behind them.
I love that.
And I agree. And the thing is, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. So I don't see he's not stirring the pot.
I think Barb's saying you're not crazy, Joe.
Right. That's
Well,
it.
thanks, Barb. I appreciate
You're welcome.
Nate thinks I'm crazy, but Nate, that's why I'm on a Linux podcast, because I love it. I do love Linux, but
I was just kidding. Actually,
yeah, I
on
know
that.
you are.
But I got so irritated when I heard the whole "I love the Windows" thing that actually I didn't hear anything else after that. So
I didn't say I love Windows.
But wait.
I said they make a good desktop OS.
Oh yeah, that.
I guess
I
know,
I love them.
But I twisted it in my head. The phone game, you know, I twisted it in my head.
Phone game.
Not, you know, I just.
I mean, I guess we have to go back to when you say good, we have to like clarify what good is, like, because somebody could just come in here and like, actually we had, I think it was Sam on Europe, and he had mentioned that, you know, Windows is garbage. So you have
I heard that.
two like completely polar opposite opinions, and I think we need to clarify what good is and what it's not.
Well, here you go. Like, I have I maintain, I don't know, 50 plus users at my office. They have to run Windows because we are married to QuickBooks, and I can slap Windows 10 on there. The 5 programs they need to use, and it just works. I rarely have problems. I know other people have had issues with updates, and I've had issues with updates in the past. But I'm going to tell you, I have a lot of issues with Linux too. And I have a lot of update issues with Mac OS as well. Like update issues, I think that's just part of the nature of updates. Like we're changing things, and sometimes they just don't work right all the way. But for the most part, and especially in an enterprise environment, I hold back updates and stuff on the Windows machine. So they're not as, you know, on fire as everybody else. But I think it works fine. Like for the people who have to get in, do some work, launch the 2 or 3 programs they use, it works fine. That's what I mean by good. It's good for what they're doing.
Well, I'm going to say that I've said before that I use Windows as a console, basically. I boot into it, I play a game, I shut it down, and I boot out of Windows. So if you're looking at it from that respect, because I don't spend a lot of time in Windows anymore, it does work fine for my use case. So I have been doing that for the last, I don't know, year or two, and I have never had a problem in that year or two with any updates, losing my files. I hear all these horror stories about it. But I personally have not experienced those issues. They may be there, and they may be there for people who use it on a regular basis and a daily basis. But for my use case, it works fine for that specific scenario.
Yeah. And I use it for gaming. Like there's just some games you just can't get. I boot in, boot out. But I think it works most of the time. I think what happens sometimes is we get in this rut of, maybe we did have a big problem, or maybe Microsoft, they did hey, it's well documented. Like there's been issues. This last update they had on their 2004 that came out in May, not April, whatever. There was some real issues. I had to reload my whole desktop machine at my office because it was hung on this update cycle. Okay. I also had Fedora update my firmware last week while I was testing it out, and now I can't boot into Pop. So because the keys aren't shared because of the boot hole bug, right? So
but
stuff
that was a fix. That was actually a fix.
Right. It was a fix, but it broke my other other environments.
It was a fix. Yeah.
Unintentionally.
It was a fix so you wouldn't use Pop, obviously.
You know what? I heard you and you kid.
It was a leaky boot.
Yeah, it's a feature. Anyways, stuff happens.
Nobody likes me after I've said this stuff.
I still like you, computer kid.
Yeah, but you do hear this old rhetoric like, oh, it eats your files, and oh, it's this and that. Like, okay, like whatever. Like, I'm sorry you were hurt. Like, who hurt you? Like, join a dating site. Like, I just like move forward. We're moving forward. I heard in Europe. Embrace, extinguish. Like, okay, God, when was that? When was that a thing? Like Satya Nadella hasn't said that, right? Like, I think things have moved forward, and you get to choose whether you're the type of person that moves forward or you're the type of person that sticks. I've been hurt before, so I don't want to move out of my comfort zone. I'm not going to date again. Like, you can be that guy. That's fine. But
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
there is nothing wrong with that.
It's fine.
It's the tribalism that unfortunately is so prevalent in everything anymore, and it's in Linux users. How many of them, if you say, yes, I use macOS. In fact, I will proudly say that right now I am using my MacBook Air to do that, to just to watch everybody go into vapor lock. But that's the point. Why should, I actually like my Mac. For some things, I really do.
There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing.
No, and that's the point. I have a friend who I would have loved to see her go on on Ubuntu Mate, but she's got no offense, gentlemen, but she's got an idiot for a husband who, wow, I know what's best for my wife.
She doesn't watch this, does she?
Huh? No,
he doesn't watch this, does he?
Don't sugarcoat it, Barb. Tell us how you really feel.
Tell us how you feel. Yeah.
Oh, well, I just think he's a jerk anyway, so that's another issue. But yeah, and so the thing is, so I said, and she wanted to get a new computer, and she goes, well, another of my friends also told me I should try Linux. And I said, why not? And she goes, well, Bob would say, and it's like, yeah, I know this isn't going, I said, just get whatever you're going to get it with Windows on it. And that's it.
Yep.
For her, it's fine. What does she do? She surfs the web, she checks her email, and she might watch YouTube. Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and is it worth having her have problems with her idiot husband because he thinks that Linux is like voodoo or something? No. I don't want to deal with that.
We don't need Linux dividing households.
Nah, it's not worth
that.
Linux
dividing.
I don't want to be involved in that.
It's not good for the community. Just asking it. Yeah.
I would actually say that she should just use Linux and see what happens.
Great
No,
job, Nate.
because-
Great job.
Maybe you don't have to deal with the husband anymore. I mean, just
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm glad
All
I'm
right,
not married.
moving
to
on.
Anyway.
Big pod.
Joe, I've got an idea. Is there really a place for Windows anymore if we could just replace it with Chromebooks that are faster? If for people who just surf the web and email, aren't Chromebooks a better alternative because they're cheaper? and
No,
faster?
you know
What
where those
happens if you
people
don't
are
have
at?
any-
Those people
No.
own an iPad.
Yeah.
That's true.
Those people own an
But-
iPad. That already
And
exists.
then what
That's-
happens if, for instance, you don't have access to the internet? Bye Chromebook.
Yeah.
I mean, at least if you don't, and let's say your internet goes down for whatever reason, and you have to write a letter. You can do it. You can write an email and do it offline. You can't do that with the Chromebook.
That's actually not true.
Yeah, I think you
Oh,
can now.
They've changed that
can.
now? Okay.
Yeah, Chrome OS is
can.
actually a real OS. Like it's
Oh,
all in a
now it is?
browser type thing, but it's
It used to be
yeah.
just
Well,
a
I mean,
literal
of
web
course it's-
browser. Now it's like it's like 50% of a OS and then a big chunk of web browser sitting on top.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's
it's
a
still,
real
it's
OS.
still horrible.
yeah, it's not.
It's a real
Mhm.
OS for the same reason that Windows is a real OS and that you can install Linux on it, right?
There you
Wow.
go. See?
Hey,
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to Linux. Big pod, go ahead.
Well,
thank you, Daniel.
it's not really Linux because I'm gonna say Joe more eloquently and better said what I was saying in Middle Europe. He just said it more eloquently and a lot better.
I was going to say more aggressively.
I think he's.
I don't know.
Joe-
Did you hear Big Pod earlier?
He was
came
pretty-
in with Thor's hammer
There
like
was some
crazy.
teeth in that.
Yeah. All right, Tyler, you were not here for Middle Europe, so give us some confessions of what would get your Linux card revoked.
So I'll start off light. My network runs off an operating system that has a permissive license.
Of course.
FreeBSD. Okay, that was light. The kind of heavier one is if macOS was actually available for more computers. Because my problem is not necessarily with the OS. The problem is with kind of the hardware line that it's sold on. If it was available for PCs and I could walk into an Apple store and buy a copy of macOS and legally install it on any of my computers, I would buy a copy and run it on at least one computer. And if I could do that without having to Hackintosh.
Okay.
That's
It's never going to happen.
Because it is a Unixy operating system that happens to have a decent user interface with popular programs that are available for it. So
I'm not a fan of the way it updates, but I get what you're talking about.
Yeah, let's talk about this, Dan. This whole
All
Mac
right.
thing.
So I think, all right. So the biggest thing for me with Mac OS is the way it updates. It like swaps out the whole entire operating system all at one fell swoop.
Mhm.
And you get these giant 9 gig, 10 gig downloads, which that's not a big deal on your home network. But think about that on an enterprise network for a minute, where you've got hundreds of these machines all doing that at the same time, all phoning home to mothership Apple.
But that's where you can actually download.
Oh,
one-
yeah. You can have caching servers. You are correct. But the problem with that is they all still try to phone home
Oh,
until
okay.
the caching server gets its, full on, operating system. And if, nobody's going to win in that situation because you can't control it.
But
They're all
Dan,
trying to do the same thing.
Dan, me as a user, I don't
You
see
wouldn't know.
that. I don't see
You're
that.
right. You wouldn't know. You're right.
There, one thing about macOS that I've heard is coming in the big sewer update is so they have their new file system APFS, which is kind of like Btrfs or ZFS.
Mhm.
And they're going to make your entire root volume a read-only snapshot.
Yeah, I can see it coming because they're already basically swapping out the whole thing anyway.
That's
So why not,
amazing.
right?
Like, I don't think that, well, yeah, but I mean, not like how SUSE and Mint do it, where you can have snapshots that you can roll back to. Like, you can't change anything.
No, it'd be like
wanna-
Silverblue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Silverblue. I don't think they're dumb enough to break homebrew and that kind of thing. But
I guess I wouldn't put it past them because here's the thing. You used to be able to identify your caching servers so that on your enterprise network, you could specify that only these machines would be the first ones. They took that feature away. So
Wow.
But Dan,
That's
I
couldn't
think
you just
I think you
reroute
said
the
that
home
wrong,
server
Dan.
in Etsy hosts? I heard you could just
on
reroute it in Etsy hosts
on all the machines.
Yeah, that
on all the
sounds like a
machines.
wonderful idea.
Yeah, I'm talking like hundreds of them
I
at the
think
same
you
time. Think
worded
about
that
computer
wrong,
labs
Dan.
full of
Ansible.
macOS.
Wait, can you?
I worded it
well,
wrong?
That's getting.
Yeah, I mean, I think you worded it wrong. You said they removed a feature, but I think they added the feature that you couldn't remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
okay.
protecting themselves
It's-
against
You got me.
you, Dan.
They are.
You know, it just sounds like
It's
it's
just
getting
not-
more like iOS.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's
well,
in the end. That's the
funny
I
you
think
plan.
that's
mention
where it's
that.
going, guys.
Funny you mention
what are
that
they-
because
what next year, the end of this year, they're going to be having some of the MacBooks. I don't know which ones. There's still the discussion which one it's going to be. Is going to be have ARM chips in it. Have an ARM
yeah,
chip in
they
it.
are.
The
But
question I
funny,
have regarding
funny you bring up the iOS devices because their code base is very, very, very similar. They
Mhm.
also update at the same time. And think about thousands of phones on a network now. Now we've painted a picture where everybody's trying to grab a hold of the same update and just absolutely annihilating your internet connection.
So the question I have is this like kind of like the A and B partition that Chrome OS devices ship with, where it'll update like a secondary partition, and the next time you reboot, it goes into that.
I'm not sure. It might. I'm not sure. Well, actually, I'm not sure because I think in order
You
to do
mean
the
like,
update, it actually reboots you and it installs it. You
Right,
know,
it reboots it a couple
kind of
of
offline.
times.
This
Yeah.
is basically how this works. Is basically have a root partition is basically its own file system,
Yes.
where that file system is basically just a container, and it gets swapped in and out however they want. And when, for example, Silverblue updates, that whole container of rootfs, they just pull it out of you, out in front of you, and put another one directly in its place. That's the end of it, and that's how rootfs is, and nothing can touch it except very few programs.
One
And
cool. Sorry, go ahead. I
they-
thought you were done, Big Pun.
And after reboot, you boot into that new rootfs. And if, let's say, that rootfs breaks, you can boot into the older one, or you can even create your own rootfs if you want. That's what RPM OS3 does.
Right.
SUSE is working on something for where they use basically they do the same thing, but in a way where you don't like have to reinvent the wheel, and you can go ahead and now install an OpenSUSE transactional server and test this out. But it creates a new Btrfs snapshot, and it does the upgrade the way it normally would in that snapshot. And then it isn't like, your kernel changed versions, you need to reboot. No, you can just reboot at your leisure, and it will switch over to the new snapshot, and you didn't have to like write OS tree or anything. You can just do it with the tools that already exist. And I think they're pushing this more, and it's what the micro OS and cubic container focused servers are built on top of.
I can definitely see the advantages to updating this way. Although I agree with Dan, the bandwidth, if it's not doing like Delta updates, can be problematic.
Yeah, where that's one of the advantages to the transactional way. You don't have to download the whole new image.
That would be nice. And with Linux or Windows, both of them can have their own update servers. You could have your own repository, you can have your own update server, and you can manage that stuff on an enterprise so much better. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a fine operating.
Let's
like
move
to
on.
start something a
Hold
little
on,
bit.
Big Bud. We have to move on, or we are not going to get everybody in here. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
So
We're-
Dan Kelly, right?
Yep.
I think that's where we're left off.
Well, I really don't have much to get my card revoked, really. I have Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows XP, Windows 10, all in VMs. So anytime I get this backwards feeling that I want to go look at some Windows, just start up the VM. Oh, I don't want to look at that no more, and shut it off. One thing, I do have Windows 7, and all my Windows VMs are set up not to connect to the internet at all, except for maybe 10, so I can see what kind of disasters Microsoft is doing to it. just to see what I'm missing, you know. Windows 7's got my software for my iPhone in there, so it's got iTunes, so I can load music and all that junk, you know, on and off it, and that's it. And other than that, I really don't have a need for Windows anymore. I got on the Linux kick because when I went to try out Windows 10, I got this big long users agreement, and the one back in 2016 was a lot larger than the one they give you now to read. And it had stuff in there and words and everything else like telemetry, and you don't own your computer no more and stuff like that. And they basically told you everything that's in your hard drive is theirs. And that kind of really scared me. I'm thinking there's got to be a better alternative. And here I am today.
There you go.
I wouldn't have met all you guys without that event.
Right?
Okay, Dan, you get to keep your card. Fine. Gosh. You guys. All right. Joshua, what you got, bud?
I'm pretty sure Joshua left. He said that he posted his on his Twitter, so if anybody has that handy.
He said he went for dinner or something.
Eat.
Oh, he went for dinner. Okay, I'm not going to Twitter. All right,
no.
so
we'll
he'll be
move on.
back.
Jinda?
Okay, I posted.
We're just going to
Sorry.
move on, computer.
Yeah, we'll move on. Yeah, Jinda, what you got, bud?
Let's see here. I personally, I'm not a genome or gnome or gnome fan guy. Sorry.
I love how you said all of those.
That's fantastic.
Because
Thank
I
you.
find that hilarious because no one ever says it the same way twice, and I don't trust anything you don't say the same way twice. I'm sorry, I'm just not a fan of it at all. I can see Rocco laughing.
That's a good motto, though. If you can't say it right twice.
You can say, yeah, I just don't trust it. You don't say it the same way twice, right? Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I've been running Linux for, over 20 years. And there's so many things that over the years that I just can't stand. And there's some things I love and I should not love them anymore. I still use Synaptic. I don't think anyone does anymore. I think it's
Oh,
dead.
wow.
Rocco's dad does.
Yeah, Rocco's dad does. Yeah.
His dad,
He
uses
does.
Which is like
What
the
of
Susa
it, Joe?
version.
Yeah.
Nothing. Hey, I love your dad. It's cool.
Yeah,
Cool guy.
I still use Synaptic, and I'm
Great
starting to
Synaptic
think that that's
guy.
like almost getting your Linux card revoked for using Linux. You know, if that's actually possible to happen.
Yep.
I mean, I still run XFCE, and I'll occasionally use KDE, and those two are probably one of the ones that people hate the most is KDE. But I mean, I also am a network administrator for a small company. And the small company has probably 6 computers in it, and not one of them runs Linux. I've never even tried to push Linux into the door. I never even mentioned it to them. I just suffer with the garbage that they have and put up with it and try to get some of it to work. I'm going to have to agree with everybody, though. Updates are horrible, and I don't care what you're running. My PC today running MX Linux died. It's called call OC, I think is the file the grub was looking for, and it wouldn't boot today. It was completely dead after an update. I had to go into a flash drive and do a grub repair to fix it. So, I mean, I don't think you're going to get away from updates. I don't think saying Windows 10 is horrible because of the updates. I think Windows 10 is horrible because of the updates of when it decides to do them. It's not up to you when to do a Windows 10 update.
That's not true anymore.
No,
That's
it
not
isn't.
true anymore.
Oh, wow. They finally fixed that.
That hasn't been okay. So I gotta call this. Hold on. You can if you're a personal user, you can set it to update in off hours, and you can even set those hours. You can delay updates. And on an enterprise level, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, you can really delay updates for like what, a month?
More.
I think more than that, right? Yeah. So like it. Again, that's one of those things that I remember. I remember being there when I'm like right in the middle of a doc, and it's like, hey, we're up to, hey, guess what we got? We got some new goodies, and you lose your document.
It's better than
those
it was.
days are done, right?
Yeah, it's definitely better than it was. You can actually go into the services and turn it off completely, so you can control the updates.
Right.
So it will tell you that there's an update available, but won't download, it won't install, won't do anything without you specifically going in there and doing it yourself. So you can give yourself full control if you know what you're doing, and to edit the services.
I'm also
Until-
upset
and-
that I've become the Windows truther on this pod, and I'm really mad about that. I'm not doing it
Until you
enough.
do the updates,
Listen-
until you
listen.
do the updates, and then it resets it back to automatic
Yes.
updates.
Without
That,
faffing,
but if you turn it
That's
off
true,
in
Colin. There you go.
services-
Good.
It is.
But if you turn
Without-
it off in services, that won't happen.
but without messing with it, like it hasn't been that long. I don't think that
No.
maybe a year or
Okay.
so
Yeah.
that you've really been able to delay it.
I mean,
that
in a
long.
year, DJ's 8 terabytes of RAM are not going to be enough. So, like, a lot happens in a year. Like,
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Like, I'm just saying
it's
that
things
not that
things
real-
change. A year's
not that
a
long.
long time in computer world. So, okay, all right. Anything else, Jinda? Because I feel like you actually get your card relaminated and a plaque because I feel like you're fine. Like you're good.
I'm really confused about one other thing is I kind of really have issues with flat packs and snaps. Half the time they don't frickin' work.
It's because
I'm
you're on
sorry.
MX. I don't
Yeah.
think
Oh,
it's-
probably is.
Yeah.
Right. The flat packs do sometimes work. I know snaps never would work on this in a million years, probably. But yeah, I flat packs, and I think installing it the old-fashioned way seems to work a lot easier for me. I mean, I am running Synaptic, so you know.
Don't
Yeah,
feel
there's no
bad. I
snap
use it
support there.
also at times, so don't feel bad. You're not
Synaptic.
alone.
We just had a whole Synaptic
Yeah,
conversation
Oh, okay.
on Linux
Nah.
Interspace. Sorry. All right. Thank you, Jinda. I feel
thank
like
you,
you're
guys.
safe. I feel like you're safe. Let's move on. Colin, what you got out there?
Oh, gee, I knew it was coming to me eventually. I've just been sitting here absorbing all this because obviously I've been busy because I didn't even know what you were talking about to start with. I didn't see the European one yet. Okay, so I'm assuming that we have to confess what we do. Well, I don't really care much about Windows, nor do I care much about Mac. If I have to use them, I'll use them. If there's a reason. Otherwise, I'm just purely Linux. I have the only Windows that I have left on a HP is stuck in a boot loop, so that's going to have to be reinstalled, or maybe I'll just get rid of it altogether. That's not the only one I've had. And at least Linux, when it does blow up, it blows up your system, not your files. So at least you can easily reinstall it, not sit there and reinstall Windows for half a day and, still going. So, I mean, there's those things. The only thing I think I could say is I use Google Chrome, always have. And if you think you can de-Googlify yourself when you're on YouTube, I think you're slightly elevating above the rest of us.
Yeah.
So,
So
that's all I can say, pretty
Right.
much.
You can go to YouTube on Firefox all you want. You still live in Google's world.
You just don't use YouTube. That works.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
Yep. And here we are.
Of de-googling, like if I moved closer to work, I'd have all my internet traffic going through Google with Google Fiber.
There you go, Tyler. That's de-Googling.
Mhm.
Just damage control.
I think
And
Colin keeps his card too. He's diehard. He's good.
He is.
Yeah.
Vince, do you still have your Linux card or has it been revoked?
Okay, so first confession, I dual boot. But wait, I mean, you're probably thinking, yeah, I dual boot too, whatever. So what I do when I install Windows and Linux is I will then go back into Grub. I'll use Grub Customizer to move Windows to the top of the list.
Oh, really?
But when I turn my computer on,
I love
if
that.
I'm not there and it times out, it'll boot into Windows.
Oh my
Now,
god.
I have my reasons. Okay, I have my reasons. So
Takes a long time. Better be good.
I often like to if I need to access my computer when I'm not around, I boot into Windows because there is still actually one thing that I find Windows does a lot better than Linux, and I haven't found a good alternative to it, and that is to remote into your desktop.
RDP.
Now, Now I know that there are third-party solutions like VNC and No Machine and TeamViewer, but RDP just works so well. It is so efficient. It is quick. It's what we deploy at work still. And sometimes when I'm not at home and I need to get to my computer, I use RDP. So I still do that. But if I'm at my machine, I'll make sure that when it boots and I'm in Grub, I'll just quickly tap down and go to my beloved Arco.
That's all you got.
Yeah, I think that sounds pretty card revoking to me.
I
wanna-
definitely think putting Windows in the grub list over Linux is pretty card revoking.
Yeah.
I take the trouble to do so.
Dual booter.
A good reason for doing that, I know a lot of people complain about the updates, and when you go to like use it eventually, there's an update available and you're annoyed by it. But if it just defaults to Windows, it can just get rid of that while you're not paying attention to it, and you don't have to constantly worry about that.
Can I just
good point?
Can I just interject here?
Mm-hmm.
Can I just interject that the poll results are still going on and they're still like real time. So I went down to 37% instead of 39. Just saying. So I might not get my Linux card revoked.
Did Joe get 100%?
Not yet.
Because if not, we need to rig that election.
Well, see, all of these new guys. All of these new guys
I did
have
a
not been
separate
added
poll.
yet.
I did you can't add it because it doesn't let you add it, but I made a separate poll for you, Joe.
My own
There
poll. I
are
love it.
5
Did you move me to the
Yep,
top like
there's-
Vince does with Windows? Did you?
Well, there's 5 options. There's Joey Lamoth. There's It's Totally Joe. There's I Blame Joe.
Thanks.
There's Fine, you can have one more option, and there's Joe. So we've got, let me see here.
I get 100% of the votes.
6 people voted for I Blame Joe, and 2 people voted for Joe. So there you go.
Sweet. Actually, I feel like I'm doing pretty good then.
I might just check
So
box them all.
I Blame Joe is winning.
They all heard the practical value of my notes. That's what it was. I got them with logic.
I'm gonna check box them all.
Yep.
May as well. Barb.
Ah.
Do you
Okay.
still have I imagine you still have your Linux card.
I hope so. We'll see. First of all, I haven't had Windows in this, not what you look at, not the ones with glass in them, but Microsoft Windows in this house since 2011.
Barb is my hero.
Ubuntu is my primary distribution, primary OS that I run. And it's my go-to one. And like what Joe was saying, I just like it. I feel comfortable in it. And I also do have macOS and for some of the things when I was actually still a regular content area teaching, and the fact that my photography and stuff were much easier to do in macOS. That's why I went from Windows to macOS and then Linux within a couple months. So I still like my macOS. And my idea of distro hopping is to go between Ubuntu Mate and macOS and back and forth. So I don't know, maybe I lose my card just for that. But like Joe, I prefer to use GUIs for doing all my setup and changing and all that kind of junk, just because it's easier. I mean, yeah, I can do everything on the command line, but something I would prefer not to have to do that if I can help it. Whoa, my computer just did something weird. Okay.
It's updating. It's gonna be a while.
Huh?
It's probably because you're using macOS.
Yeah, I am actually right now. I am. And another thing
we know.
that, huh? You all know. I already said it at the beginning. So yeah, you all know. And besides that, I have my cute little tropical island.
Yeah.
Background. And I loved Unity, and maybe it's because using Unity and using, at that time it was OS 10, there were so many similarities. It was really interesting. And I liked it. And I was kind of upset when they switched it, but that's okay. I dealt with it. That, change is the only thing that's permanent in life. And I prefer, huh? It's true. Everything's always changing. I prefer to use like native apps. I will use snaps if I have to. I will, or app images. I don't care, whichever one works. But I have found once in a while, so I don't like sometimes the snaps just don't feel comfortable. Same thing with the app images, but I don't use flat packs. I've had no desire, no need to use flat packs. So maybe I lose my card for that. And let me see, I had a list. That I think is basically it. But my my daily driver is Ubuntu Mate. So.
Well, we'll have to wait and see at the end, Barb, if you actually lose your card or not.
If I lose my card, I have broad shoulders. I can deal with it.
I think you gain points by not wanting flat pack or snap, but sticking closer to Debs and stuff. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
why is it worse or why is it better? Because you said, oh, I haven't had Windows in my house since XYZ timeframe.
Right.
I've had a Mac.
Mhm.
So why is one closed source company not evil and one, or why is it better to have one or the other? Or is it, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to clarify, were you saying, I know you prefer Mac OS.
I prefer Mac OS, and I switched because I had gone from regular wet photography to digital photography in 2010. And I could never get the color balance right. Never, no matter what I did, and doing everything with Windows. And then somebody had said, "Oh, it's really easy with if you get a Mac," and I did, and I had no problems. And so I went to Mac because it was able to do what I needed to do, which when I couldn't. I was getting so frustrated with Windows, I really was ready to take my computer and throw it out the window. And interestingly enough, at the time I was using Corel's Aftershock Pro because I needed something that was more like Darktable and Raw Therapy and so on. And that worked beautifully. And they also had it when I started using Ubuntu, they had it for Ubuntu. So I could download, I paid for one license and I could have it on both machines because I wasn't using both of them at once.
Good
so
answer.
I don't really care whether I'm using a proprietary software or not, as long as I can be able to do what I need to do. So maybe I'll lose my card for that.
Yes.
I want to use the tool that helps me get done what I need to get done.
Sounds like the time I needed a drill, so I went and bought one.
Exactly.
No, you must buy Milwaukee.
No, see, well, I have both though. Like I have a Milwaukee drill, and then I have a DeWalt.
There we go. That's good.
Yeah.
Card back.
That's a guy thing. I understand that.
I have a DeWalt electric grease gun.
All right, you're doing a lot lot
Like
of
a forklift mechanic. They go through tubes of grease like no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah. I do feel I think just off of that, I think sometimes in the Linux community, we are a little more accepting of Mac OS within rather than Windows, yet they are both proprietary, closed source, and it feels like actually Microsoft probably contributes something to open source. I don't know what Apple's contributing to open source these days.
Mac OS is based on Unix.
Feels like home, right?
It does feel like home.
Yeah,
and I was using Unix in the 80s.
Yeah.
So that to me makes me feel really comfortable. And the first time I used Linux was, I think, about 95, and I used Slackware. Oh, that was fun. But yeah, so that's why I much prefer using GUIs to change settings than do everything in the terminal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's because a lot of the things that I can do, like with bash scripts and stuff, I can do, I might have to tweak here and there, but they basically both work.
That
And I
answered
think
my question.
That's
that
part
was
of what it
perfect.
is.
Yes. Thank you. Awesome.
You're welcome.
You get to keep your card, I think.
You're clearly not a hacker if you don't use the command line. All hackers do.
You know something? I was doing that before you were even thought of. Okay. Yeah. Don't give me that kind of nonsense. I was a programmer and sysadmin for 23 years.
Story for another time. Let's move on.
Okay. Watch
use
it.
punch cards. Do you use punch cards?
Yes, I did. I had one of my in graduate school. One of my programs, 5,000 punch cards.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
That's
DJ,
awesome,
go ahead.
And you numbered all of them.
So just a couple of corrections. Mac OS is not closed. Sorry to tell you that, but it isn't. It's based on XNew Unix, which was passed down originated actually from the OSF side of things, the Open Source Foundation. They developed a hybrid based on Mac OS, not Mac, but Mach OS. and it uses components from BSD, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD, and there are even components in there from GNU. So it is not there are parts of it that are closed. Coca and Aqua are closed source.
And then the other thing is the whole idea of that graphical interface goes back to what Xerox had done in the 70s at Xerox PARC. And then they put that whole thing into public domain. And then when Windows came out with, when Microsoft came out with Windows, there was a whole big thing, and Apple was going to sue and Microsoft and blah, blah, blah. And it turned out that they couldn't. They didn't have a leg to stand on because Xerox had taken that part of the code and it already was in the public domain.
I see what you're saying, DJ. Would we consider Apple an open source company or proponent?
I would consider it a hybrid.
So Apple's a hybrid open source company.
Yes.
That's what they're propagating. That's what they're pushing out.
They are let's talk about the truth. The truth is Apple as a company is moving to closed source.
Yeah.
They are rapidly transforming what Jobs had started with the next step and the next OS. They are rapidly transforming that into closed. So, but they're not there yet. There's still a pretty sizable chunk of it that's still open.
But Darwin is still open source, right?
Yes. So is XNew.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have open source roots.
Yes.
They've just dyed them blonde, and they're
yeah, but we cannot even know how much they have changed. So saying that they are open source is a bit of a problematic statement because
I can say this: they're still contributing to the XNew source base. I mean, there are updates in there from last year.
Well, they're working on projects to get. They're working on projects with Apple-friendly licenses so they can get parity with GNU tools. Like they're putting all this money into LLVM and Clang because they cannot ship the GNU the GNU compiler collection because, GPL 3.0 they couldn't make any changes unless they open sourced it, et cetera, et cetera. They couldn't keep their special applesauce.
Isn't that one of the reasons that they actually kept Bash kind of behind for a while and then transitioned to ZSH just very recently? Due to licensing issues with the GPL v 3.0?
Well, ZSH is just better, but I would be surprised if that was part of it.
Bash was for a long time really, really, really old version because they couldn't get the that's what it was. Because they had the last V2 licensed version.
So Shickle.
A few versions ago, they went to ZSH, so they do not have that problem.
Is for Vince and Joey. I just got RDP working on Linux. This is my desktop right now. So using the Microsoft RDP client. So I'll send over some links to get that working for you guys.
Please. I need to know the
XRP. You did that.
What about the server side?
The server. Well, that's what's running on my desktop. So it's XRDP. So basically, you can forward your entire X session or anything else you want.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Yes. Shickle's the man. Can you put it in a plasmoid?
Moving on so we can get everybody in here. Magnus, give us some confessions that might get you revoked.
I am going to assume that Richard Stallman is the issuer of the Linux card, because that's going to make a big problem for me.
Oh, he's the.
I am booting a machine on a ugly closed source motherboard with ugly closed source boot loader, and then I'm booting Linux, not the debugged version of Linux. No, the one with Ubuntu that Ubuntu delivers, and I'm having drivers for my NVIDIA graphics card. Like ugly open closed source drivers.
Well, you can. That doesn't put you in danger of losing the Linux card.
Oh yeah,
it puts you in danger of the GNU, like the GNU
He
division.
took off the tip of my fingers already. All right, and then when
hold on. We need to announce. I love Magnus. and then we need him to continue.
Yeah, we need to let Magnus continue.
Go, Magnus.
Okay.
Then I start out my desktop with Firefox with ugly DRM plugins, that decode all the crypto fascist movies for me. So that meant all my fingers. I have Steam. That was my hand. My hand's off. Not just the card. My hand is off. And then I'm using Zoom to talk to you guys, and I'm not at the elbow yet, but close. It's getting there. What else do I have? I have Google Chrome. That took my head off. So
are those headphones open source?
No. And I have a Logitech web camera here with closed source drivers.
Oh, now you've done it.
Really
wow,
bad.
dude, you want to take the top cake, don't you?
I love it.
But
awesome.
But I also have a machine in the next room with Windows on it, and so no, that's a hand grenade in the room. What else? What else can I say? I have all sorts of Google devices, and I have a Sonos. That's bad. Nuclear
the
bomb.
NSA loves that.
And I
that's
have a Windows
awesome.
machine, the VM, and what else? Yeah, lots of stuff.
That's good stuff.
So we could definitely revoke your card right now.
Oh, Magnus,
Yeah,
you're in so much trouble, buddy.
You know, I don't
His arm
think
with a card in
that's-
it.
Well, you have to decide how much proprietary stuff does Linus Torvalds use? Wasn't he the one that was using a proprietary VCS system before they invented?
Linus does not dictate my morality.
No. But I'm saying that you shouldn't use Stallman as the basis for the Linux.
No,
code.
but
we
I
don't
did.
talk about Stallman on this channel.
He was the one who gave up the cards at the day.
We don't
when
talk about
he
him here.
delivered out the Linux cards. So
Yeah.
he's the authority. Yeah.
All right, Daniel.
Magnus wins this round of life. Magnus is the winner. I don't care what poll we're using.
Oh, and I like Snap, and I even published software to the Snap Store. That must really settle it, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're done.
Outrageous.
You're done.
Yes. Done.
All right, Daniel.
Outrageous.
Go ahead.
Who did you say, Daniel?
Daniel Stevenson. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. Oh wait, I am the only one this week.
Yep.
The
But-
only Daniel.
So
Stevens.
I have some
Congratulations.
evidence I have to bring forth about my Linux card. One is this book that I purchased.
Nice.
And second is my Raspberry Pi that is trying its very hardest to run FreeBSD, although it's having trouble compiling things. And third is this laptop, which was running OpenBSD and is now running FreeBSD.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Keep
that's
digging
getting
your
a bit-
hole.
Yeah. No. Well, see, I think that the BSDs are nice in that it's a lot there. I mean, obviously, you can't just say all of BSD, but like if you were to pick one, like if I were to pick FreeBSD, it's a lot more coherent sometimes because there's a couple of derivatives and like distros, if you will, but mostly there's just the one FreeBSD, and so there's like one place I can go and find information. I can go to freebsd.org and I can search the mailing list archive or the handbook or the man pages or whatever. They do a lot of, and the way they handle updates and jails are cool. And there's a lot of things it does very well. However, they can't do everything as well as Linux can. I am still talking to you on Tumbleweed, and I think that FreeBSD would have to get a lot better at doing certain things before I would use it as a daily driver on the desktop. And that goes for also OpenBSD, which I've tried. As far as like Windows and Mac and everything goes, I've never owned a Mac in my life. They're just too expensive. It wasn't ever in the picture. And then I have a Windows partition, but it doesn't boot, and it hasn't for about a month, and I haven't cared enough to fix it. So I just didn't want to. It just felt wrong to remove this thing that I basically accounted for $120 of my laptop's price. Yeah, but I think that OpenSUSE I like a lot of the tools they have, and some of the philosophies of they don't break things. Arch likes to break things.
Stop.
They broke my Bluetooth again.
Oh, sometimes
Arch has never broken
I sometimes have differences of opinion with apt and everything. So, and
Well,
yeah,
I think we can safely say that we might revoke your Linux card, but we'll get you a BSD card. How's that sound? All right, there you go. So that's not so bad.
Daniel.
Well,
brought
I'm
the
making
evidence.
a package for
suggest-
OpenSUSE. I'm making Warpinator. I'm packaging Warpinator. It's going
Cool.
pretty.
Will that BSD card be signed by Alan Jude?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, computer kid, go ahead, real quick.
I was just saying that he brought the evidence, so I suggest that it was Daniel in the Zoom chat with the BSD.
There you go. DJ, you must have something that would possibly revoke your Linux card.
I don't have one to begin with, so it's been
okay.
revoked a long time ago. I run my firewall is pfSense, and that runs on FreeBSD. I run ZFS, and that runs on FreeBSD, a different server. I do use macOS to do my titles, my trailer for my videos, because I have not found anything. Maybe you guys know something that would replace Motion 5 or After Effects in Linux, because I haven't found anything that will save me that kind of time. I mean, it's a difference between how much time do you want to spend. I could spend an hour with Motion 5, or I could spend 8 hours in Blender trying to make the same effect. So it's really down to that. So there are times where I do capture on the Mac, and mainly that's because of the device just doesn't support Linux. So if it would, I would use Linux. I love Linux. I mean, I use Linux as my daily driver. I use it on my laptop, but I do have certain areas where I still use proprietary systems or closed systems. The only thing I would add to it is that if there's a choice, I will go free and open source. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
If there's a choice.
That's good. All right, cool.
I don't think you get your card revoked for that.
I don't think so. I think you're pretty safe. Thomas, how about you? Anything that will get your Linux card revoked?
I think we should revoke Thomas's card just because.
He's been too quiet today, so yeah, just revoke his card.
I just got in here
like
a little
he
bit
maintains
ago
a
in my
distro or
defense.
anything.
You showed up late too. Yeah.
I knew the Linux police would come for me one day. I just knew it would happen. So I have confessions. Not all the computers in my house run Linux.
Really, Thomas?
Really. This one back here has 2 computers that run Windows, one Windows 8, one Windows 10. There is a computer behind the couch. It's running Windows XP. In my defense, before you start yelling at me for running Windows XP, it hasn't been booted in 3 years and hasn't been hooked up to the internet in 10. It's okay.
Is it a coffee table?
No, it's a server waiting to happen.
Oh, okay.
Other than that, all of my computers run Linux, except for this. This little 32 gigabyte USB 3.0 flash drive has a Windows To Go installation on it. The only reason I have this is to update my UEFI. But other than that, I guess liking snaps to some degree might revoke my Linux card?
Nope.
Yeah,
Snaps are good.
Snap.
Okay, cool. I don't think then that not liking Flatpak would revoke my Linux card because I don't like Flatpak. I absolutely abhor app image. Absolutely abhor it.
Why?
App image feels way too much like the way Windows does things.
There are a lot of great reasons as a user not to use it, and there are a lot of reasons it's really hard to package too.
It is. I'm currently trying to write an app that I can package as both a dev and an app image. And the way you're supposed to do that is do it from source. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So I'm going the route where I turn the dev into the app image. And I absolutely hate this. And not only that, with Windows apps, you have, unless they build in an update utility for the app, you have to manually go to the developer's website, download a new exe file, and reinstall the app. And with app images, if you don't build in the update utility, it's the exact same way. And that just feels way too much like Windows to me.
It's wasted and duplicated effort.
It does. And it is literally at least 30% of the reason why I don't use Windows is because all of my updates for apps are right there with the rest of my system. But other than that, I haven't used Windows on any personal machine in 6 years, I would say. So unless you want to revoke it for this and NVIDIA drivers and liking Snap and not liking Flatpak, okay, I guess I might be safe, maybe.
You have an open source bootloader?
I'm using Grub. I've been debating for a while switching to system deboot, especially with the boot hole vulnerability.
In the BIOS?
BIOS, no. I'm using
Okay,
Acer
I'll send
BIOS.
Richard Stallman after you.
Richard Stallman, he's not even part of Free Software Foundation anymore. I don't care about him. But yeah,
right.
That's basically my situation. So if you want to revoke it, go for it. All I will say is if you're going to revoke it and kick me off Linux, I'm not going back to Windows. I'm not going to macOS. I will go to BSD, and I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate every moment of it. I am
Daniel
on Linux for life
Stevenson
at
will
this
welcome
point.
you.
Yes, I'll welcome you, and it's not that hard. Well, it's kind of hard on the desktop.
I'll find something.
App images work really well with App Image Launcher. Have you tried that? As far as using them, they're very nice.
No, right now, my biggest beef with App Image, other than the updates and all that, is getting Python to work in an App Image is an ordeal and a half. And apparently Daniel understands this. I was going to write that app in Python, and when it wasn't working, I'm like, well, guess I'm doing C++. There goes my life.
Bradley, welcome to Biddle. I don't know that I've seen you here before, but welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I've been here once before, but it's been a while.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I wasn't there. So what do you run or preference that would remove your Linux card? Do you have a Linux card?
Yeah, I've been running Arch primarily for the last 3 or 4 years.
I think he said, by the way.
Yeah, by the way.
I did, yeah.
By the way, I run Arch, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But currently I've been
By the way,
running...
me too.
Currently I've been running Windows 10 because I've been going through a software dev boot camp learning .NET, so that might do it.
How dare you?
There goes the card.
We'll tell you about .NET on Linux, though.
Yeah, it works great. Try it.
So what are you learning with .NET that requires Windows, or is it just for the
It's just for the program. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just bought a new NVMe to throw on the laptop to dual boot it. So
nice.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. Easy Nix. Do you still have your Linux card?
Oh, sure. I won't give that up. I've had it since, I don't know, 98. playing around with SUSE Linux. Not much
Nice.
success back then until 2000 with Caldera. That might get my card questioned because I still have fond memories of Caldera Linux, even after the lawsuits. So if anyone remembers their history there, you'll know what I'm talking about. Recently, since 2005, I haven't run Windows on my personal machines at all. I have to use it at work, but that's about it. I haven't run a Mac since 93, so I can't speak to Mac. Actually, I do have an old Power Mac from 97 that still runs System 8, but I don't think that counts. So if I had to use something else, I'd probably see if Haiku could work for a while.
Esnix, you are failing, dude, at getting your card revoked. You are totally failing.
Yeah, I'm solid. I'm the one who can throw stones.
I think we got you a 4-foot trophy that you can put on your mantle that says you're keeping your card.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a platinum card, right?
Yeah, he's got the platinum one. Yeah.
Here's one other thing I thought of. Now, I know a lot of people on YouTube and probably around the world want to see Linux grow more than anything else. I'm more than content to watch the organic growth that has been happening over the last 25 years continue at whatever pace it takes. I see no need to push it. Most people are not computer people to begin with, and pushing a new operating system on someone who doesn't care about computers at all, it's a recipe for frustration. So.
Yep, it can be. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. I think he did just say, though, that Linux is good at marketing.
I don't know.
Like a grassroots kind of marketing, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
Yep. So that's my take. So if I keep my card, that's great. I don't expect to lose it.
I think underneath that Linux card is a BOS card. I think is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Well, BOS?
Yeah.
Yes, BOS. I'm sorry. Yes, Haiku, BOS. OS2 Warp. I remember that
yeah.
fondly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was a good one.
I ran that for most of the 90s. So.
Well, I'm looking at everybody and trying to think back of everybody's answers, and I'm guessing that, like, I'm going to say Magnus and Vince are, I'm going to push Vince up there just because I think Magnus and Vince are up there with me, Schickel, and Big Pod for losing our cards at the top of the list. So I think those 5 people will lose their cards. But
you should have one of those fights in the arena. Kind of
So, something I didn't mention earlier is I'm also considering buying an iPhone for my next phone.
Oh,
that'll seal the deal.
Too late. All right. All I can say is I was going to go into a few of the topics that we talked about, like a few of the reasons, but I think we've covered it enough.
Yeah,
that we can
it was
move
fun.
on. I do want to get to our essential apps that we've been talking about for the last couple weeks. We probably won't get into much of it, but I would like to get into at least 1 or 2 of these things. So I think we talked about Office suites last week. Only Office was on that list. No, still not sure why that was.
Yeah.
But we are up to, I guess, a USB writer. So on this 21 must-have apps for Ubuntu is Etcher. And I don't know about you guys, but Etcher came along and they seem to be really good. But lately, I don't know. I have not had good success lately with Etcher writing to USBs. Now, that might be my USB sticks. I don't know. Would you guys consider Etcher to be one of the 21 must-have apps for Ubuntu?
No.
Tyler?
So, personally, yes, I absolutely love using Etcher, especially when I'm writing images to things for Raspberry Pis. But I will also pipe in and say I've used OpenSUSE Image Writer in the past. That's been good.
Fantastic.
But System 76 has the best name for an application for writing images to flash drives, and that's Popsicle.
Yep.
And so that takes the #1 spot for me for that reason.
Agreed. I do like Popsicle. I have not had it fail as of yet, so I can't say that I've written a lot of USBs with it, but for the I would say probably about 30 so far, and never had one fail yet. So,
It's just real nice when you want to just brain dead simple. Just
yeah, it is. But I had a lot of issues, and I can't remember exactly what they were with it. But it would fail to write, like it would immediately fail. Like you would, so when you would go and you would hit next, or whatever, it would go through and you would see the thing writing it to the USB. But there were, for a while, it was like going to 100% within 3 seconds. And it didn't write it that quick. So, and then you try to boot off of it and it would fail. So those are the issues that I was having with it. But yes, it was that way for me. It was dead simple. And that's kind of where Popsicle has taken that place, where it is that way, where it's just next, dead simple. Computer Kid, go ahead.
I am going to go with the Etcher thing. I have never really had any issues with it before. It feels very nice. I like it a lot. I wish they would support some sort of packaging except for app images, because as convenient as they are not that great in the long run. I don't want to have to write a .desktop app myself, which I can, but it doesn't, like, why? I don't feel like I should have to.
App image launcher.
But luckily, it's in the AUR 3 times, so that I got myself covered there.
3 times.
Wait, actually, let me see here. 1, 2, then there's a CLI version, and then there's another CLI version, then there's the Git version. Yeah, it's in the AUR a lot of times. So
yeah, wow.
I really like it. I've never had any issues with it. I just wish they would like support something else, even if it was Debs or something.
Yep. Oh, that's fair. I'm kind of surprised by this recommendation though, Rocco. I mean, Ubuntu comes with a startup disk creator, they call it, and I don't know why you need to install anything. But anyway, Jinda, go right ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to lean right in what you said, Dan. I kind of don't like the program. To me, it did have issues every time I've ever tried to use it in the past. Like the ones that come with usually your distro, like Linux Mint comes with Mint Stick, and Ubuntu comes with one. I've had very few issues with those ones, but this one for sure, I would definitely say this was the one I would say stay away from, not recommend. Sorry,
Gotcha.
it just doesn't work.
No, that's fair. Dan Kelly, go
So
ahead.
it just straight up doesn't work for you?
It would do what Rocco said. It would kind of stop working. I mean, I haven't tried it in a while, but every time I have.
Those are kind of those things where if it stops working for a while, you tend not to go back. You get that bad taste where, that didn't work there for a while. So maybe I should go back and check it out as of late to see how good it's got, from the last time I tried it. But I don't, Popsicle's working fine, so I guess change.
I guess that makes sense. It just puts me into troubleshooting mode when people say stuff like that.
Yep, that's fair. Go ahead, Dan.
I use the app image one because it's portable for all our distro hopping. It just goes right along with the home folder and everything else. I haven't had any trouble. I've been using it for 1.5 years, the very same app image. Now, the description that Rocco just gave, I've had a couple of times with the Mint Stick writer, where it just goes zing, and it's too fast.
Yep.
And I've had that with the Mint Stick writer. And even a greater problem I've found out is it does matter which USB stick you stick in which hole in the front of your computer. Some of the holes like to be written to more than others. And sometimes a USB 2 will not work right in a USB 3, even though they say it's supposed to. And I've had a couple of sticks where they just write sometimes and won't write at all, and they're destined for the trash. But that takes a lot of considerable time to troubleshoot it all the way down to that. But
Yep.
For the long run, the etcher for me works all the time once I weed out all the bad apples.
Well, just so everybody's aware of how this works, if you don't know, I don't want to force anybody to like jump into conversation or to talk about something they don't want to talk about. So I don't go down the list, or we don't go down the list to pick out everybody. So if you do want to make a statement or have an opinion on like whatever we're talking about specifically, like here, just raise your hand in Zoom and we'll get to you. We'll call on you, but rather than make everybody talk about it. So with that, Nate, go ahead. You're muted, Nate.
I need to pay attention to the keyboard.
There you go.
Barb, what thing do you use, Etcher, or what do they call it? USB writers do you use? Yeah.
I tried. I had problems with. I mean, when it first came out, it was really good. Then after they got bought out by whomever, it's when I noticed there was just something didn't sit right with me. So I went back to using DD.
Ooh, Disk Destroyer, yes.
Yes, but I have it saved, so all I have to do is I have it sitting, and I've got in standard notes. I just have a whole thing of all sorts of weird oddball commands, and I just go in there, copy it, flop it in the terminal, edit what I need, and press enter. So yes, Computer Kid, I do use the terminal.
Good for you.
A lot more
I was just joking, to be clear.
Yeah. So that's what I do. And yes, using DD, you have to be careful, but it's been more reliable actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess go ahead, Trickle. Yeah, if you want.
So there's an app on Elementary OS's App Center that's just I think it's just called Image Writer, and it's super duper simple and it just does the trick. And I really like apps like that, and that's why I like Popsicle so well, is that it's a very straightforward. I think that these kinds of tools should definitely probably be a little more present in most distros, but if anything, GNOME Disk Utility also has this functionality, and that's installed on almost everything. So if you never want to have to go and find something, or if you're wondering what works, that probably pretty much always works. So
yeah, here's a second for GNOME Disk Utility. I don't see a point in finding other software. So
hey, if it works, you stick with it.
Yeah,
have to explore that. So Daniel Stevenson.
Well, I also, yeah. So I use DD because I guess I can't be bothered to go install something else or whatever, and I'm confident in it. I'll just do an LSBLK first and make sure I don't have any like multiple flash drives plugged in. Because I know which I can usually tell my my actual hard drive from a flash drive. But then I don't use that much either, really, because Ventoy. You can just run Ventoy script on your drive, and then you can just copy things over, and you don't have to accidentally destroy anything.
Daniel, your Linux card has been gold plated.
Well, I think Ventoy is actually a good option, but there are certain ones that I've had problems with.
Yeah,
Ventoy.
Debian and Bunsen Labs are both broken because it thinks it's a CD drive, and then it's confused that it can't find the CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some really weird problems where it tries to. Actually, one time I had 2 USBs in, and I booted into Ventoy, and then I would pick an ISO, and it would try and send me to the other USB, and just really weird stuff like that. So I've stayed away from it.
Computer Kid, Arch works perfectly, and that's the only thing you run, right? So
Exactly.
Aris, go ahead.
So for the most part, I've used Etcher. I think I've had good luck with Etcher, except for Debian. It doesn't seem to run in Debian, I think. Which I ended up using the light USB maker from MX, the app image,
I
and
have
that
the
seems
fix
to work.
for Debian.
Okay, and lately it's been Ventoy, pretty much Ventoy, nothing else.
I've been highly using Ventoy lately, but like I said, there are certain distros that don't work with it. But DJ,
I vote for DD as well, but I'm curious: is there anybody? Have you used Yumi's multi-boot? Anybody use that?
What is it?
It's called multi-boot. It's from YUMI.
I used it a while ago. I haven't looked at it in years, though.
I think I have. Does that pop up a bunch of like X terms or something like that?
I've never used it. I just came across it and was just curious if you guys had used it and what you thought of it.
Yeah, I have. I've used it. It can be troublesome sometimes to get it running.
I've found Ventoy much more reliable.
I'll stick with DD then.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like DD.
DD is also ultra reliable.
Yeah. All right, Bill, go right ahead.
So I'm going to vote for Etcher, and there's a couple reasons. We actually have it on the webpage for users coming from Windows. And one of the things, it's cross-platform. So if you're talking, we have instructions for using GNOME disks and using DD, but that's not something that I want a new user doing. And Etcher, it's cross-platform. One of the issues is in the Ubuntu repos, it's old, and they have a few issues with their signing key. But if you grab it from their GitHub releases page, you get their updated version. So a little bit of a manual process. Ventoy is great, but if you're doing things like if you're testing any of the daily ISOs, it has some issues with those. And something like occasionally tails will break. So it's a great tool, but Etcher very good for cross-platform and especially for new users. It's simple, works for Raspberry Pis, so it's a really nice cross-platform application.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know doing support for Ubuntu, sometimes we run into issues that people use Rufus, and for whatever reason, they decide to use NTFS as their file system, and that will oddly, it will check out when it runs, the check at the beginning of booting up the ISO, but it will not install. Don't try that. Don't. NTFS is not Linux friendly necessarily. Tony, go right ahead.
I used to use Etcher quite a lot, but it's been quite a while since I stopped using it because of issues. These days, I tend to use GNOME disk, and it's never failed to do the job. The only issue with it is that you've got to be careful because it will select or show your main hard drive for the system as well as the USB. I haven't, touch wood, so far selected the wrong drive, but it is a risk that you could do that. You just have to be careful with it. But other than that, it works perfect, and I've sort of tended to stick with it.
Excellent. Alex, do you use Etcher or something else? DD.
Anybody remember these? Anybody buy one of these? This was on the Linux Action Show, I think, like a million years ago. It's a Zalman USB 3 ISO booter thing. And I don't know if you can see, but on the side here, there's like a little jog wheel. So you can flip up and down, and inside there's a 2.5-inch hard drive. I think I got an old laptop drive in there or something. And you just drop ISOs on this thing. And like 5-10 years ago, this was magic.
Yeah.
Now Ventoy's made it kind of irrelevant. But for the longest time, I just used this. But then stuff like the Raspberry Pi came along, and I started needing to image SD cards and stuff like that. So who was it that made the point about Etcher being cross-platform? Because I 100% agree with you. That is its killer feature. Like DD is great, obviously, if you're already on Linux. But most of the time when I'm burning an ISO or imaging something, it's to get to Linux.
Yep.
So you got to remember that as well. I think Etcher's great. It has its point. Should it be included in Ubuntu, like by like the 21 apps thing? Maybe, but GNOME Disks is a strong alternative. That said, there is the single interface across Windows, Mac, whatever. It's just one tool to learn.
Good point.
That's for those people who have to go back to Windows or Mac, though.
So, Alex.
All right, he's getting his card revoked now.
macOS?
This is macOS. Yes, look, I've even got my little sticks of shame in my ears.
Let's say, don't you have DD
that's
on
fine.
macOS?
Sticks of shame.
And
Says.
don't you also
Suppose
have?
you do, yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Tyler,
Yes,
just so you
DD.
know, your mic is a little low, Tyler.
Yes,
Oh.
DD is on macOS. I suppose you're right. That's a good point. But is it
It's
technically
on
therefore
WSL.
on Windows now? It's on WSL. Yes, Daniel, that was my point. So maybe Etcher is now dead. That's what we've just established.
Yeah. Just established we killed Etcher. That's what it is.
DD all the things.
Well, I
You
noticed that
bastards.
nobody mentioned UNet booting as a.
Well, that
a
was
Rufus
back in the
or-
day, dude.
That's,
Like,
there's a reason for
Hey,
that.
I use it. I use it all the time. I've never had any problems with it, and it is cross-platform. You can use it on Windows and Mac OS.
you are right. You
Yeah.
are right.
Never heard of it. Eris, did you have another comment that you want to make on
No,
burning?
I didn't take off my hand, and I guess nobody else did either.
Oh, it happens.
I just want to
Not
say,
my
I guess since I'm on Unit booting, I used to use it, but I used to have a lot of problems actually. And once I started using Etcher, that for the most part went away.
Yep.
Colin, you use Etcher, don't you?
Yes. No, I used to, but I stopped using Etcher, and I'm using Mintstick at the moment. I've used GNOME Disk Utility, Startup Disk Creator, Ventoy, DD. I've used them all. I think Mintstick is the most convenient, but Ventoy is great as well. But there's a few that if you're downloading and trying different OSs or distros like I do, you will come across ones that Ventoy can't use. So I just either use Mintstick. I pretty much use whatever distro I'm running at the time. I'll use what's in there, and I think that's the best way to try out different applications is to use what comes with the distro itself.
Default is king, Colin. Default is king.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, you just admitted that Vim is the best editor.
No. Never used it.
It's even better when you use Vim key bindings in Emacs, though.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I'm going to have to contradict myself here. If it's got Vim by default, I won't use it.
Well, I just meant like that's your environment variable. So if something implicitly calls an editor, it will be Vim, unless you're on Pop OS, I think.
Look, if I have to watch a YouTube video on how to exit an application, I'm not going to use it.
It tells you when. Never mind.
You really wouldn't like Emacs then. You would really not like Emacs.
No, I leave that to DistroTube to use those things.
I almost tried Emacs because of org mode.
Dude, I mean, sorry to derail the conversation. Org mode is phenomenal. It's worth it, I promise.
What is org mode?
What makes it?
You probably want to do a show topic on this, Rocco. It's like a life organizer, but in plain text.
Oh,
it is. It is.
It's amazing. It changed my life. It's amazing.
Nate, sounds like you need something like that.
It sounds interesting. I'm actually intrigued. My ears have perked up. I'm gonna see if it fits in with my Tmux desktop.
What got me started with org mode was, have you heard of this Roam research tool, which is like a backlink kind of wiki thing? So rather than organizing knowledge hierarchically, you organize it through links to other things, which is kind of how your brain works. And there's a plugin for Emacs called org-roam, which does the same thing, but within Emacs. So as long as you've got SSH to the system with Emacs installed, you can access this thing, whereas Roam Research is proprietary and you store data on their servers, and I'm not doing that. So
there's also Vimwiki,
which you can never leave.
But
right.
It actually tells you how to exit when you open.
I think we're
Vim.
triggering Daniel. I think we're triggering him.
But only if you open it without a file, which I think is dumb and they should change. Anyway.
I like VimWiki, so you're not the only one. Does it mean I have to like?
All right.
Well, I have to say, for me, I've ever since on this show, someone introduced me to Ventoy. I've been using that, but outside of that, it's been the SUSE Image Writer. So there have been a couple of times when I've had to use SUSE Image Writer when testing something out, like since Ventoy, because like it just when it would boot up with Ventoy, I just got a rainbow of light of craziness. Didn't know what was going on with some distros, but outside of that, yeah, Ventoy has been it's kind of kicked everything. Well, I should not really kick to the curb, but put a SUSE Image Writer on reserve status, basically. Call it up, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, something like that.
It's probably bad that I didn't know there was a SUSE image writer.
So when I
It's
used
bad.
to
It's
use
really good.
OpenSUSE, I actually remember having to use OpenSUSE Image Writer just to get the OpenSUSE image working on a flash drive. But then once I started using it, that's all I used for a good 4 years.
Yep.
It's just DD with a GUI on the front end.
Chickle.
So,
Could I bring like something up to like close off the show?
Yes, do it.
There was a blog post on the Elementary OS blog, and of course it means that something's coming that we've clearly all been waiting for.
Clearly.
And that every single one of us has been really excited about. And it's Elementary OS 6. And it's very, very close. Like it's like you guys won't even realize it's coming except for the fact that I'll keep talking about it. And they cover a whole bunch of things from the changes that are being made in not only how they're building things and releasing updates, but there's a dark mode coming and there's new fonts. And
So
I was reading it.
What caught my eye was the email clients and calendar all being rebased on the Evolution backend.
Yes, you
That
will not have
excites
to use separate account logins for the same thing for calendar and email and all that. It's all going to be tied together and integrate with other apps. It's so good.
Because it's going to be LTS based, I'm half tempted to throwing that on my work laptop and then using our script at work to make it proper with our work image, because it's Evolution backend, so it'd work with the work email with all the Exchange stuff that we use.
I think you should do it. I'm clearly an expert and I have the authority to say you should do it.
All right, with that, we're going to end the show because we're out of time. Thank you, Chicken. Dan Simmons, last word.
Hey, thanks for the show, Rocco. Thanks for gathering this unruly crowd and discussing the great things we do. Appreciate it every week. Would like to mention, check out Linux User Space coming up Monday. New show dropping. And
if
feel
I
free
can
to
get it edited.
Well, I hope you can. Feel free to join our Telegram group over there. linuxuserspace.show/Telegram.
Very nice. Joe had to leave early, but he said you guys can all blame him for that. So I just want to throw that out there. Tyler, last word.
So, I wasn't muted, so you might have heard keyboard. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Thanks for the show. Fantastic discussion today. And I think certain things regarding, if I had the opportunity to get certain Apple things, would get my Linux card revoked. And I'm look forward to next week.
All right. Dan Kelly.
Yeah, I'm looking for that Debian fix somebody posted in the chat. My Linux card, it came in Lucky Charms box.
Harris, last word.
Thank you very much for the stream. It was interesting to hear all the confessions this week.
Yep, we ended up having it on both shows. We didn't double cover some of our confessions, but there was enough confessions to have it on both shows, so that was great. Tony, last word.
Thanks for another great show, Rocker. Tired now, thinking about bed very shortly, but it was fun. Glad to see everybody. Take care all till next week, and I hope to see you same time, same place then.
Jason, last word.
Well, again, thank you for the show and letting us all get together here to have a nice little conversation about getting our Linux cards revoked. It's been a great night, great conversations, and you guys all have a great night.
Computer Kid?
Thank you again, Rocco and other guys, for making a place where I can come and hang out and talk about Linux. It was really fun, and I'll hopefully see you guys next week.
Jinda, last word.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure to be here and to be with all of you.
Colin.
Geez, that sneaks up on me all the time, every week that does.
Every week, Colin. Come on.
Thanks, Rock and Co, for the platform here. It's great. Some really great chats happening. I think this new format's working out really well. There's a lot of different discussions, so I'm really enjoying it. And everybody enjoy your week, stay safe, and see you next week.
Big Pod, last word.
Well, my Linux card is ready null and void, so if I can, I will join next week.
I think we're going to make it mandatory that we don't have to have Linux cards to join next week. Just saying. Vince, last word.
So, I mean, the great thing about open source is if you revoke my Linux card, I can make my own, see?
Yep.
Well done. Well done.
Just fork it.
Yep, fork it. Thanks, Rocco, Dan, Joe, who was here earlier, Nate. Love you guys, and everyone else in the community. Fantastic. Love you guys all.
Bill, last word.
So I just want to plug Sylvia Ritter, 20.10. I'm so confused. 20.10 Ubuntu. Her wallpapers are beautiful. I'd also like to plug Ubuntu Studio. They've just redone their website. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And the one other thing, there's a lot of discussion about boot hole. If you check out the Ubuntu Security Podcast, I think it's 84, they go into a great discussion about it, how it developed, how the patches went. So that's it. Thank you, Rocco and Dan and Joe, who's not here, and Nate.
Barbara, last word.
Of course, I want to thank you, Rocco, and everybody else who makes this possible every week. And I like tonight's topic. I guess I haven't figured out whether I lost my card or kept my Linux card, so I don't know. And I'm glad I won't need it for next week, whether or not I have it. I don't know. But anyway, thanks. This was a great topic this week.
It's okay, Barb. I think I lost mine too.
Oh, okay. I don't mind. As I said, I've got broad shoulders. It doesn't bother me.
Magnus, last word.
All right, all you Linux sinners. See you all in purgatory, where we'll have to fight back to get our Linux cards back. And thank you, Big Rocco, for this nice show.
Which level, according to Dante's Inferno, which level of purgatory?
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Nate, last word.
Hey, thanks again for letting me be a part of this. It's always fun to, confess my Linux sins with all of you fine nerds. So look forward to next week.
Daniel Stevenson. You're muted.
Come on. I was already on me. Anyway, thanks to Rocco and Dan and Nate and everyone who helped put this together and run it. I liked the new format, even though I was late to it. And see you guys again next Saturday, I hope.
DJ.
Always, Rocco, it's always so fun to be here with y'all. And I was just going to say that I find that the Linux community is so much friendlier than my memories of the Unix community. And, if you made a negative comment in a Unix community, well, in my case, they almost fired me over it. So you don't find that here. You don't find you don't find that level. You might be told to read the manual, but they don't issue death threats or take out a contract on you. Good night, y'all.
Thomas, last word.
Well, I'm sorry I was late, but thank you to Rocco and all of Rocco's flying monkeys for helping put this on. Not sure if I'll be here next week. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah, good night, morning, day, whatever it is for you, where you are.
Shickle.
All right. Well, I just want to say thanks for having me. And yeah, I really look forward to the next episode of the shenanigans. Yeah.
Bradley, last word.
Just thanks for doing the show, and seems fitting enough. Thanks for letting me in late.
Esnix, last word.
Well, thank you, Rocco, and everyone else involved. And I know I've been absent for a while, so thanks for letting me back in. And hopefully I haven't made anyone feel less than Linux worthy. So
I think you're on the top of the list to keep your card, dude.
Yeah. I think you won that one.
Alex, last word, brother.
I think this is great. Everybody gets their turn and gets their chance to speak their mind. And I mean, there are some questionable life choices, let's make no mistake, from some of you all, myself included. But it's just good to connect with folks, I mean, I haven't left my house in what feels like forever except to walk my dog and go and buy milk. So it's just really nice to talk to other people that I don't have to explain what Linux is. Like, I'm supposed to say, what do you do for a job? And you're like, well, I work in a Linux company. And they're like, what's a Linux? Anyway, it's great. It's a great show, Rocco. I love it. I think everyone that's involved is doing a great job. So keep up the good work.
All right. That is going to wrap it up for us. I do want to plug Linux User Space one more time, if I can. I'm finishing editing the episode tonight, maybe tomorrow, and it will land Monday morning at 6 a.m. Another great discussion, maybe a little bit longer. I think it ended up being about an hour and a half, but it's a great conversation about Fedora 32 and our experience with it. So
Fedora what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I also have recorded a Linux Spotlight episode with Nate Graham from KDE Plasma, and that is not yet edited, so it won't be out for a little bit, but I have that starting to edit after Linux User Space, so hopefully I'll get that out as soon as I can and release it as soon as it's edited. So,
what's the URL for Linux User Space? I Googled that earlier and didn't really find much.
linuxuserspace.show.
Oh, I could have probably guessed that. Nice.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. It is an awesome thing to see everybody here and have a great time and talk about Linux. I love it. So we will see you next week. But until then, long live Linux.
See yous.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.